I was sitting in a bar in Shanghai recently, navigating a social landscape that completely upended my understanding of political spectrums. On one side, I was talking to the creatives, artists, writers, people with that distinct liberal arts background. In the West, these are your typical left-leaning progressives, usually the first to critique the establishment. And sure enough, here in China, they were the dissidents, highly critical of the government, advocating for Western-style liberties, and deeply dissatisfied with the status quo. But then the conversation shifted to a group of young professionals in high finance and tech. In the US, you'd expect this demographic to be the staunch capitalists, perhaps complaining about regulations or taxes. Yet here, they were the ones offering a spirited defense of the Communist Party. They weren't just towing the line, they were true believers. They spoke passionately about poverty alleviation and the necessity of a strong state, using rhetoric that, ironically, sounded a lot like the anti-capitalist arguments you hear from the far left in America. It was a jarring inversion. The rebel artist in China is effectively a right-leaning liberal, while the corporate finance bro is the defender of the socialist establishment. It made me realize that the average Chinese internet user complaining about their government on Western social media is essentially the mirror image of the Western tankie decrying late-stage capitalism. It's the same energy, just with the magnetic poles reversed. So if your position on the political spectrum depends entirely on your geography, does the left versus right model even mean anything anymore? That opening, where the magnetic poles of political thought feel completely reversed, it just sets the stage perfectly for what we're exploring today. We're looking at the immense appeal and really the transformative power of China's distinct development path. We're going to dive deep into how this model of prosperity and stability is being projected onto its Southeast Asian neighbors. We'll be looking especially at the detailed case of Thailand and how this whole dynamic is, reshaping regional perceptions and cementing China's long-term influence.
It's such an essential observation to start with, because it really highlights the fundamental question that so many emerging economies are asking themselves right now.
Which is, does the old playbook still work?
Exactly. For decades, the Western orthodoxy, whatever we're going to call the Washington consensus, that was the prescribed path. It was the only path, really, for nations trying to transition to market economies.
Okay, before we go any further, just for anyone listening who might not be an economist, can we do a quick breakdown of what that standard Washington consensus model actually is?
Absolutely. Think of the Washington consensus as a set of policy prescriptions. They were mainly pushed by institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, especially after the Cold War.
Right.
It emphasized things like fiscal discipline, privatization of state-owned companies, trade liberalization, deregulation, and of course the protection of property rights.
So in essence, maximizing the power of free markets and really minimizing the role of the state.
That's it. It was a market-first approach with this sort of implicit belief that stability would just naturally follow if you got the market settings right.
But what we're seeing now, and what that opening story points to, is that emerging economies are looking for other successful templates. They're looking for models that move beyond just, a pure reliance on market forces.
Precisely. They are observing China's rise and seeing a viable alternative.
So when we talk about the Beijing consensus or the China model, what are we really looking at?
We're looking at a distinctly non-Western pathway for rapid, large-scale development. Its essence is really in how it views the future.
How so?
It's not seen as some unpredictable outcome of market dynamics. Instead, the future is viewed as a condition that is inherently better than today, and the state then actively commits all its resources to crafting that future.
So the government isn't just managing the present.
No, it's aggressively designing the future. It's a completely different mindset.
That is a fundamentally different approach.
Yeah.
It really suggests that control and long-term strategic planning are seen as more important than, say, some kind of ideological purity when it comes to market mechanics.
Right.
But doesn't that active state intervention, doesn't that risk stifling innovation? I mean, that's the criticism we so often hear from Western observers.
And that's where the real nuance of their governance principle comes in. Scholars like Yang Yao from Peking University, they articulate this core idea that stability must be prioritized during these huge periods of reform.
The system is designed to manage the downside.
Exactly, to manage the downside risks of incredibly rapid change.
And what does that management look like in practice? It sounds like it's got to be more than just building up social safety nets.
Oh, it is. Yang Yao really emphasizes that when you have these deep economic reforms,
The kind that create winners and losers.
the kind that create massive winners and losers, yes,
Yeah.
the ones that fundamentally alter the distribution of wealth or power, In those moments, the government has to actively step in.
To what end?
To manage the challenges faced by the less favored sectors or the regions that are being left behind. And this isn't just, passive aid.
So not just handing out money.
Not at all. It involves crafting very specific, very targeted interventions. Think of things like controlling land use or funneling massive investment into specific strategic industries they want to grow.
Or providing huge subsidies to retrain workers, or building out infrastructure in provinces that are lagging behind.
Perfect examples. This active management ensures social coherence, maintains stability, prioritizing that central plan over, pure unchecked market forces.
And that emphasis on controlled, stable, and directed change must resonate profoundly with nations across Southeast Asia. I'm thinking of countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam.
Absolutely.
They're all actively navigating their own complex national governance challenges, often trying to balance this rapid growth with, internal ethnic or regional divisions.
Precisely. And they're seeing tangible proof that this model works. You have to contextualize the timeline here. The progress China has made in economic and social development over just the last 30 years is, it's phenomenal.
It's hard to even grasp the scale.
It is. This centralized long-term approach, it has resulted in a marked improvement in living standards. It's successfully transitioned hundreds of millions of people and established the nation as an upper-middle income country. This visible success story makes the model incredibly appealing to other emerging economies that want to replicate that kind of rapid, large-scale prosperity while, and this is key, maintaining social order.
So economic strength, in this context, it's so much more than just GDP figures. It acts as this massive, positive, global image catalyst. It's like a confidence signal that comes before and underpins any diplomatic initiative.
That is a really deep insight because while, robust economic power isn't typically defined explicitly as soft power. That's just a nice term for attraction and persuasion. It certainly acts as a profound foundation for it. When a nation consistently demonstrates its capacity for phenomenal economic growth and wealth creation, it commands global respect.
It creates an automatic attraction.
It does. Other nations that are hoping to achieve similar outcomes are naturally drawn to it.
And for businessmen, for entrepreneurs, for entire national economies all over the world, China offers this, irresistible commercial attractiveness. It's just too big to ignore.
It's pragmatism at its finest, isn't it? China offers increasingly favorable conditions for trade relations, vast investment prospects, and maybe most compellingly, a rapidly expanding consumer market that you simply cannot overlook.
So from a purely economic standpoint, its gravity just pulls other nations into its orbit.
It does. It makes partnership an appealing and often a necessary choice for business leaders globally.
And it goes beyond just the market size and trade flows, right? China is also now seen as a genuine technological powerhouse. We see Chinese brands everywhere, and not just, cheap knockoffs anymore, but real cutting-edge technology.
Yes, and these technological contributions are so critical. They are tangible embodiments of China's developmental success.
You mean brands like Huawei or Xiaomi?
Huawei, Xiaomi, Alibaba, they're global entities now. For foreign observers, and especially those in developing nations, these brands shape the image of China as a modern, forward-thinking center of innovation and progress. They show that China is capable of competing with, and in some cases even surpassing, Western technological giants.
They're a more effective advertisement than any state-run media campaign could ever be.
Far more effective. They testify to the nation's advanced capabilities, and they shape perception on a daily basis.
And that technological confidence, it seems to tie back into this perceived role of global responsibility. China is actively positioning itself as a major and essential player in worldwide economic stability and management.
That's a crucial evolution. China has really moved from being a recipient of global economic management to being a significant contributor. It's stimulating global economic development through its own initiatives, like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank or the Belt and Road Initiative.
And that positioning is fundamentally attractive because it offers shared development. It's not just aid.
It's win-win cooperation rather than purely transactional aid. And it reflects a broader, highly appealing vision for a new kind of global economic order.
That shift from hard economic competency to this desire for a holistic, respected global presence that moves us naturally into our next focus. The dedicated long-term campaign that's rooted in culture and education, China's soft power strategy.
Indeed. We're pivoting now from that economic engine to the philosophical architecture that underpins China's global outreach. And the traditional Chinese concept of power is just. It's significantly different from the purely coercive Western context.
Oh.
It integrates not only the capacity to exert influence, but fundamentally the level of acceptance and moral justification that's perceived by the recipient.
So you have to lead not just with strength, but also with virtue. Is that the idea?
Exactly. The concept is deeply rooted in Confucian ideals. These ideals suggest that power achieved through sheer coercion, what we call hard power, it only subjugates people. It forces them to comply, but only temporarily.
It doesn't win hearts and minds.
Not at all. True. Lasting power comes from persuasion and attraction, and that's based on moral virtue and ethical adherence to established social norms. The goal is long-term stability and a willingness to follow, which is really the essence of soft power in the Chinese context.
So China's contemporary soft power strategy is inherently culture-centric. It's emphasizing these ancient philosophical dimensions, but in a modern context.
It is. The core of China's soft power strategy operates in this culture-centric dimension that seeks to project continuity and stability. It emphasizes Confucian values, traditional concepts like harmony and prioritizing people, and most notably this concept of the golden mean.
The golden mean, or zongyang. We hear that term occasionally in Western philosophy, but what does it mean in the context of Chinese governance and foreign policy?
In Chinese thought, the golden mean is all about finding balance. It's about avoiding extremes and promoting gradual, sustained development over radical, disruptive change.
And how is that marketed as soft power?
It's marketed as a highly pragmatic, non-ideological, and inclusive approach. By emphasizing stability and consensus, it subtly positions itself as a counterpoint to what is perceived as the volatility, the disruptive individualism, and the often chaotic political transitions seen in many liberal democracies.
This all sounds incredibly structured and strategic, which I think brings up a major difference when you contrast it with how soft power is usually generated in, say, the US or Europe.
That is the central distinction that analysts identify. The Chinese model is very tightly structured and centralized. It's a top-down approach, actively endorsed and funded by the central government and the Chinese Communist Party.
So the state directs the resources, the messaging, the institutions?
Everything. It ensures strategic alignment from Beijing all the way down to every single Confucius institute around the globe.
Whereas the American model is often seen as more of a happy accident of culture, right?
Precisely. Joseph Nye, who coined the term, observed that the U.S. model is diffuse. It's decentralized. It relies heavily on non-governmental organizations, civil society, universities, foundations, and, of course, entertainment.
Hollywood, pop music, Silicon Valley culture.
All of it. And because many of these key soft power resources in the U.S. are outside the direct control of the state, they can sometimes even contradict government policy.
But they're also seen as maybe more organic and authentic by some people.
That's the argument. China, by contrast, relies on its centralized model to guarantee strategic consistency across the board.
Okay, let's move to a specific resource within this centralized strategy. Higher education. This seems to be high culture, high influence.
Absolutely. Higher education institutions are treated as these incredibly attractive hubs for international students. They generate national goodwill, they enhance the country's image, and ultimately they strengthen its soft power. The resources they offer are just immense.
What kind of resources are we talking about?
High global rankings, for one. Massive research output. Top-tier faculty. And the capacity to attract international scholars and researchers. It's a massive resource pool.
And China is investing heavily in this. It seems to be treating it not just as academic outreach, but as a deliberate foreign policy mechanism that's aligned with its major initiatives.
It's entirely strategic. China is actively recruiting students globally with a very specific focus on its neighboring countries and other developing nations.
The numbers must show this focus.
They do.
Yeah.
Students from Asia and Africa accounted for over 76% of all international students in China back in 2018. And this approach aligns directly with President Xi Jinping's aspiration to leverage education to advance the massive Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI.
So the goal is to foster a deeper, generation-long understanding of Chinese perspectives, its culture, its politics, among the future global elites in these key partner nations.
That's the long game.
And that concentration of effort must require a staggering financial investment. Let's look at the concrete commitment figures, especially through the China Scholarship Council.
The scale of public investment is enormous, and it's highly systematic. The China Scholarship Council, or the CSC, is the main vehicle for this. In 2018 alone, the CSC funded 65,000 international students.
65,000. And what percentage of the total foreign student population is that?
That represented about 12% of the total. And to really understand the depth of this financial commitment, you have to look at the total package. It covers tuition, student residence, a monthly stipend, and comprehensive medical insurance.
So what does that actually translate to in practical financial terms for an individual student?
Well, for a bachelor's student, the total annual package could be anywhere from, say, 58,800 to 65,800 RMB, depending on their field of study.
So it's essentially a fully subsidized life experience.
It is. By removing the financial barrier entirely, China ensures it can attract high-potential students who might otherwise have to default to a cheaper local option, or maybe a loan-heavy Western education. It's an investment in loyalty and in mindshare.
And this investment, it clearly isn't seeking immediate returns. It's based on incredible strategic patience, expecting dividends years, maybe even decades down the road.
That's the key observation. And the long-term strategic success is already visible. You can see it in the highest echelons of global politics. Chinese university alumni have gone on to hold prominent leadership positions in their home countries.
So there's a powerful soft power ROI.
A very powerful one.
Can you give us some specific examples of these high-level alumni?
Certainly. We see figures like Mulatu Tehome, the former president of Ethiopia. He's a graduate of Peking University.
Oh.
Joseph Kabila, the former president of the DRC, studied at the National Defense University. And Karim Masimov, the former prime minister of Kazakhstan. He studied in both Beijing and Wuhan.
So these individuals are returning home with a deep, firsthand, and positive understanding of China's political system, its development process, and its perspectives on global affairs.
Exactly. They become, in effect, internal advocates for stronger bilateral ties.
This moves us perfectly into a focus case study. The transformative power of this educational exchange in Thailand. This is where we see the strategy being applied on the ground. This is where that cultural and economic appeal really meets individual experience.
Absolutely. When we focus in on Thai students, the research shows that their motivations for choosing China are, well, they're diverse, yet they're all interconnected with this perception of China's success.
So what are the primary drivers that are cited by these students for making that leap?
The initial drivers are often language and culture. A lot of Thai students have this desire for a profound cultural immersion, and many of them started studying Chinese from a very early age.
But it's not just about culture.
No, that foundational interest is very quickly overshadowed by the pragmatic pull of China's visible, rapid economic development and its technological progress.
So there's a rational calculation being made.
A strong one. They understand that mastering Chinese language skills offers excellent, often superior career prospects back home, especially given the deepening economic ties between the two countries. And then, of course, there's just the general curiosity for life in a highly developed foreign country.
You know, I found the data on the short-term programs really fascinating. It suggests that a brief, intense exposure can be a more powerful catalyst for changing someone's opinion than years of just consuming media.
That's a crucial public diplomacy finding. These short-term programs, like summer camps for Thai youth, and some of them focus on Chinese ancestry, others are purely cultural. They have a highly positive and powerful impact.
How?
They provide vivid, positive, first-hand impressions of Chinese people, the culture, the development, that media alone simply cannot replicate. They are engineered to deliver these direct, emotionally resonant experiences that challenge any previous assumptions.
And where are these camps hosted? I have to assume they are deliberately showcasing China's best face.
They absolutely are. These programs are often hosted under the patronage of large, prestigious universities. And critically, they're situated in highly developed Tier 1 cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Nanjing, and Guangzhou.
Can you give an example?
Sure. You have the Thai Chinese Youth Root-Seeking Summer Camp at Wakiu University, or camps organized by huge state-owned companies like Sinochem Holdings. These locations strategically showcase China's best assets.
High-tech living, economic progress, advanced infrastructure.
All of it. Plus, highly qualified teaching staff and deep cultural history. The aim is to present this very clear image of a modern, successful China.
So the short-term experience functions as an initial, powerful, positive hit that then motivates a long-term commitment.
Precisely. They create a powerful multiplier effect. These short visits dramatically change perceptions, and they often motivate participants to then go on and pursue long-term educational goals in China.
And then they go back to Thailand and spread the word.
Crucially, yes. These former participants return home, and they spread positive reviews about China. They effectively become local promoters and influencers for China's soft power narrative.
All right, let's turn to this duration effect. Does spending, say, 2 to 4 years versus just 1 year, really deepen that soft power influence? And if so, how does that work?
The research confirms that duration matters, and it matters significantly. Thai students who spend longer periods in China, typically the 2 to 4 years required for a full degree program, they demonstrate an increased positive susceptibility to Chinese soft power influence.
And this isn't just about more time in a classroom.
Not at all.
So what's the mechanism that's driving this deeper, more sustained influence? Is it the academic curriculum or is it something else entirely?
It's the immersion. Specifically, it's the personal relationships. Direct, sustained interaction with Chinese citizens is absolutely critical.
Why is that so important?
It helps students move beyond the generic and often negative external media narratives. It helps them dispel their initial stereotypes. They gain a much more nuanced understanding of China's immense social diversity and just the daily realities of life there.
Connect with individuals, not just with institutions or headlines.
Exactly.
And this leads to a fundamental shift in how they view information itself.
Yes. Students consistently report a more favorable view of China after being there. They cite not only improved cross-cultural understanding and language proficiency, but also this new awareness that cultural understanding is essential to forming accurate views.
So they become more sophisticated consumers of information about China.
That's a great way to put it. They learn to critically assess the news. They realize that misunderstandings often arise from a simple lack of knowledge or from relying on news from one side, as one respondent put it.
Okay, let's turn specifically to governance. How do these long-term students view the Chinese development model itself once they've actually experienced it on the ground?
They view it remarkably positively. They often focus on the aspects that directly impact their daily lives. They consistently note the country's tremendous convenience, its security, and the sheer efficiency of daily life.
And they often cite things like the cashless payment systems.
Yes, the widespread, highly effective cashless payment systems come up a lot, as does the overall feeling of social safety and the effective regulation of life.
That convenience factor must be incredibly striking for foreign students.
It is. It frames China as this highly modernized, technologically advanced society where things just work. They acknowledge that China's massive size necessitates unique governance mechanisms, and they appreciate the effective economic management that has yielded this widespread, visible prosperity.
So for them, the system is measured by its results.
By its results, convenience, safety, and a thriving economy.
And what about their perspective on China's global role? Do they come to see it as the emerging leader?
There's a strong consensus that China's role is prominent and essential. They unanimously recognize China's thriving economy and its growing influence in regional and global development, especially in trade and infrastructure.
Is it seen as the leading power?
Well, some students do firmly believe that China should be the world's unequivocal leading power. But many express a more moderate view. They see China as one of the great powers that's driving global society forward, alongside others. Regardless of the exact interpretation, the belief in China's prominent global influence becomes firmly established.
And that entire educational journey, it requires effective promoters and established channels back in Thailand to keep it going. So let's look at those local pillars of soft power promotion that sustain this pipeline.
The roles of institutions and individuals in Thailand are indeed crucial. They are the channels for information dissemination and recruitment. The Confucius Institutes, the CIs, play a central part here. They provide the institutional backbone.
And what about the individual teachers?
Critically, so do the Chinese language teachers in Thai high schools.
What specific support do the Confucius Institutes provide that makes such a difference for these students?
They act as these vital, highly accessible support systems. CIs provide essential guidance and resources for Thai students, and they simplify what can be a very complex application process.
So they're helping with things like exam prep.
Exactly. This includes HSK exam preparation, that's the standardized Chinese language test, and dedicated scholarship assistance. They make the path to studying in China feel accessible and attractive. They demystify the bureaucracy.
And how do local Thai teachers become such effective ambassadors for China's educational opportunities?
There's a really powerful symbiotic relationship at play there. Many of the local Thai teachers are China University alumni themselves. They often participated in long or short-term training programs, frequently subsidized by the Chinese government, at leading normal universities in China.
So they come back with their own positive stories.
They do. They use their positive first-hand experiences, their personal anecdotes of the convenience, the safety, the academic quality to inspire their own students. They actively highlight the importance of the Chinese language for future careers, and they readily recommend Chinese educational opportunities. It makes them highly effective, localized ambassadors.
That mechanism attracting future teachers, subsidizing their education, and then having them return to inspire the next generation, that is a brilliantly integrated strategy. This leads us directly to how this educational investment is seamlessly woven into the larger framework of regional economic and diplomatic stability.
It is a cohesive strategy, and it extends well beyond academia. The educational strategy reflects President Xi's aspiration to leverage education and cultural diplomacy to advance the Belt and Road Initiative.
So China is focusing its efforts heavily on neighboring countries.
Very heavily, particularly in Southeast Asia. It's to ensure that the next generation of regional leaders is, China literate and China friendly.
And the data shows this economic interdependence is deepening rapidly, positioning China as the indispensable regional anchor.
The numbers absolutely confirm it. In Thailand, for instance, China was the top source of investment in 2022. It channeled a remarkable $2.3 billion into key industries there.
$2.3 billion.
This economic engine drives vast investment, trade, and ultimately regional stability. And this isn't just theoretical. This investment is tangible. It's supporting sectors like high-tech manufacturing, electric vehicles, and digital infrastructure in Thailand.
And the Belt and Road Initiative is the visible infrastructure framework that physically links all these economies.
It certainly is. Thailand has officially approved and is actively engaged in BRI projects that are aimed at enhancing the country's economy and its connectivity.
The high-speed rail project is the big one.
The high-speed rail network connecting Thailand, Laos, and southern China is the prime example. And you have to understand, this isn't just a train line. It's a vision of shared infrastructure development. It fosters a stable, interconnected regional future, and it dramatically enhances logistical ties across the continent, binding these economies closer and closer together.
Beyond the economics and the logistics, the diplomatic and cultural bonds between China and Thailand seem uniquely deep. They're often described in these highly personal terms.
They are. The Sino-Thai relationship boasts a really significant historical and cultural depth, and this goodwill is often articulated by Thai students using the phrase, Yotimis. Chinese and Thai people share one family love. This familial sentiment, it underscores a powerful historical connection that greatly facilitates current diplomatic goodwill and strengthens cultural acceptance.
And the education programs, specifically the scholarships, they reinforce this perception of friendship rather than it just being transactional business.
Absolutely. The educational opportunities, especially the provision of numerous highly generous scholarships, they are perceived by Thai students as concrete, tangible evidence of the strength of the bilateral relationship.
Diplomatic goodwill.
Yes. The massive financial commitment by the Chinese government is seen not just as academic aid, but as an expression of enduring friendship and mutual trust, which is highly, highly valued in the region.
So what's the long-term diplomatic impact once these culturally fluent students return home?
The long-term impact is the creation of a durable bridge of understanding. Students who study in China, they consistently express this desire to act as a bridge of friendship and to foster mutual understanding when they get back.
So it's an explicit goal.
It is. This highlights the successful role of educational diplomacy in strengthening ties between their homeland and China. It ensures that the next generation of government officials, business leaders, and educators possesses a deep, nuanced understanding of the Chinese perspective and thereby ensuring regional stability.
Okay, so we've mapped the appeal, we've detailed the strategic tools, and we've reviewed the transformative impact on the students themselves. Now let's focus entirely on how to make this educational ecosystem even more effective for future engagement. The sources provide some excellent recommendations for optimizing this soft power strategy.
This final section is crucial for long-term sustainability. To ensure the continued effectiveness and, the high return on investment of China's soft power through education, the overall student experience has to be prioritized.
And that means ensuring consistent, world-class quality across all Chinese institutions.
Yes, regardless of their position within the city-tier system.
We also need to address the practical reality that bureaucracy can severely damage the goodwill that's generated by all these scholarships.
Indeed. Administrative frustration is a major, major detractor. Chinese universities must enhance and streamline the support that's provided by their international student offices. The primary focus should be on simplifying complex administrative procedures.
Like the Chinese ID card process.
That's a perfect example. The lengthy and often confusing Chinese ID card process is a huge source of frustration.
Can you just elaborate on why that process, for example, is so frustrating for foreign students?
Well, it often involves navigating multiple layers of bureaucracy, local police stations, university offices, sometimes even provincial administration. All of this with language barriers and requirements for specific physical documents and addresses that seem to change frequently.
So for a foreign student who's just arrived, this inefficiency must stand in stark contrast to the technological modernity they see in the rest of Chinese society.
It's a jarring contrast. So simplifying these complex procedures, it reduces inconvenience and friction, which directly and significantly improves the foreign student's sense of belonging and their overall positive perception of their host country.
And beyond the administration, what about the academic offerings themselves? Should they remain focused on language and culture?
There is a clear need to promote academic expansion and diversification. While the current educational efforts successfully focus on areas critical for cultural exchange like linguistics, teaching, medicine, and economics,
Right.
Chinese universities really need to include a wider range of high-demand academic disciplines, expanding into cutting-edge engineering, sophisticated technology fields, diverse humanities programs. It's all essential to attract a broader and more diverse pool of global talent.
And encouraging interdisciplinary learning as well.
That, too, to appeal to the most ambitious students.
We live in a highly visual digital world. How can China expand its access and visibility to future Thai applicants who are, digital natives?
Public outreach needs a significant modernization effort, and it has to be focused on foreign social media platforms. Chinese universities should dramatically increase their online presence and engagement on platforms that are popular in Thailand, like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram.
What would that look like?
They can use these channels to showcase vibrant student life, highlight success stories, post student blogs, detail cultural engagement opportunities, all of it. It would attract a wider, more digitally engaged pool of Thai applicants.
In thinking long-term, beyond the moment of graduation, what's the most crucial step China can take to ensure it retains this highly educated talent to really cement its long-term attractiveness?
Career continuity. It's paramount, and it's currently a weak point. China needs to implement work visa programs that are specifically tailored for foreign graduates, particularly Thai students.
Because right now, many of them are forced to leave upon graduation.
Exactly. Many highly skilled alumni have to leave. So providing clear professional pathways after they earn their degrees is essential to boosting China's long-term appeal as a destination for international talent. It would allow these valuable China-literate alumni to directly contribute to local economic partnerships and regional development from within China, deepening the ties even further.
Finally, let's just return to the source of that initial attraction, the scholarships.
Expanding the existing scholarship and financial aid programs, that remains the bedrock of the entire strategy. These programs must be not only numerous, but also widely publicized and inclusive.
So just keep doing it, but do it bigger and better.
Essentially, yes. By continually expanding accessibility and academic mobility for Thai students, China reinforces its commitment to regional education partnerships and deepens that sense of goodwill and diplomatic strength. This continuous, generous investment ensures a steady, high-quality stream of future leaders and ambassadors, effectively securing long-term regional alignment. This deep dive has, I think, effectively shown us how China's strategic combination of a successful state-led development model, its culture-centric soft power philosophy rooted in Confucian ideals, and this massive sustained investment in educational exchanges, how all of that creates a compelling and influential narrative for emerging economies, especially in Southeast Asia. We see firsthand how direct experience and deep subsidized engagement are powerful catalysts for reshaping regional perceptions of global power and political stability.
What we are watching unfold is a clear demonstration that state capacity, focus, long-term planning, and cultural attractiveness can fundamentally redefine the terms of global influence. By offering a distinct, proven path to prosperity and stability that is supported by tangible investments in infrastructure and education, China is building a cohesive, deeply interconnected regional future anchored by shared economic success and a rising generation of local leaders who understand and appreciate the Chinese system from the inside out. This holistic approach ensures not just influence, but long-term acceptance as the regional anchor.